Lojo sambo bagyo trashi pa tuje tempe chinle yarngoda belge drolor zambe zeparache pande alame shabla solwade Oma Guru Vajradhara Suma Timonisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Omo A Guru Vajradhara Suma Timonisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Omo A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Omo A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Dagi Jitsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Siksu So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendo So Oyon Sungi Nawa Tsedo So Seji Ningne Solwa Debe Tse Dechen Korlo Viso Lekshune Yila Sambe Dede Malupa Geme Lungi Drupra Jingelo Soni Sodan Diktun Shape Tse Dunge Namke Yinso Lekshune Lapchen Soni Yonso Zopa Dan Chera Nyetun Chamra Jingelo Chancho Parge Ninsen Tukun Tu Nyu Peme Siudru Lekshune Chancho Drube Gegen Kunshishi Tungen Dela Drupra Jingelo Dage Lona Chela Chokpa Dan Chemin Samjur Ngemba Ship Chedan Tumbe Dede Malupa Beme Lungi Drupra Jingelo Dorna Tingne Tsera Tamche Dan Techi Pardu Nekaba Tamche Tu Rese Kemne Lama Kele Me Tukje Chingi Dala Siksu Sol Gongyab Drewe Nyamda Dachala Chetsun Lame Tuje Rab Gongne Kodan Sungi Nawa Dralme Tu NgalSo Nyongwe Kesan Toprash Kiewa Kuntu Yanda Lama Dan Rame Chiki Pela Longche Chi Sadan Lamge Yunde Rabzone Dorje Changi Kopa Nyur Tobo Sho Pakyuke Kudan Dagi Olu Pakyuke Sundan Dagi Nga Pakyuke Tukdan Dagi Yin ten yerme chiktu chingi lo ma kyuke kudan dagi lo ma kyuke sungdan dagi nga ma kyuke tukdan dagi yi ten yerme chiktu chingi lo Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Soham Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Soha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Svoha Sashi Peke Chushi Meto Chan Rirav Lingshi Nide Gembadi Sangye Shindu Mikde Ulwargi Drugu Namda Shingla Chöpar Sho Yidamang Guru Radna Mindrala Kam Niryatayami Sangye Chedan Tsoge Chanamla Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chishe Gibe Sonamki Drola Pinchire Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chedan Tsoge Chanamla Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chichin Gibe Sonamki Drola Pinchire Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chodan Tsoge Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chichin Gibe Sonamki Drola Pinchira Sangye Drupara Shon Nel Buddha, nel Dharma
The Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Namo Lhaye Ke Dal Hudan Chin Ke Rubuda Dami Ke Namdan Ruwa Kunge Tanam Chitsampa Tamche Ke Tu Dagi Cheten To Buongiorno.
Good morning.
Quando noi siamo piccoli, è uno dei momenti della nostra vita dove
When we are a child, it's one of the moments when there is the most cerebral activity, and we are learning, we are absorbing everything around us.
man mano che noi
And
impariamo,
as we learn, one of the fundamental things that we apprehend are concepts.
guardiamo intorno a noi,
and we look around us, we see what the others say and what happens around us, and in many ways, and also many ways that we struggle to understand how it exactly happens, but anyway, we apprehend various concepts and so on. And then at a certain point we go on and we build our basis of perception somehow. We build our vocabulary through which we relate with the world and with ourselves, so to speak. By vocabulary I don't mean the words that we use to speak, also, but not exactly that. Mostly the concepts through which we live ourselves and through which we live the world. One of the beautiful things is that at a certain point to ask ourselves, but why is this thing like that? Why? Not to take it for granted, because many of the concepts that we learn are not objective realities. At a certain point, someone decides to call that thing in that way and to attribute that meaning, to give that concept to something. In Tibetan, it is said like the founder of that concept. Someone decided a certain thing, someone else lived it in another way and had another concept. And it's obvious that when all those around me, all, so to speak, but mostly all, attribute the same value, the same meaning, and see the same thing in the same way, and that becomes their reality. Also on a more trivial level, when we see something in a certain way, we speak with three friends to say, but have you seen like that, and yes, you're right. And then you see like everyone thinks about the same. One of the examples of this is time.
Noi siamo cresciuti.
We grow up inside of a system where the idea is transmitted that there is an absolute time. Someone could look at me like, okay, what are you talking about? Yes, there is time. There is yesterday, tomorrow, the minutes, the seconds, and so on. If we could go analyze a bit more, a bit further, also what physics does inside of this, you could see that time meant as the absolute time. So that was invented by Newton. Before Newton, you didn't talk about time, absolute time, or at least in the scientific field, or also in general, that the time was seen as the time of each place, the time of each one. Also the usage of as time with a clock. Until a while ago, each town had like its clock, and noon was synchronized with a certain position of the sun. But then you will go to the town of another village close by, and then the clock was tuned a bit differently. And then trains came, and then there was like a problem. Okay, the train arrives at 2, but like at 2 of Rome or of Naples. Because what happens is that in any case, it's not really the same thing. Like you had a few minutes of difference, of course. And then you had to sync the clocks. This was like in the 19th century. Via radio, they would sync the clocks. Then at a certain point, you had like a telex. So you would communicate through the countries, the continents, and okay, then what time does the message leave? Okay, and so there was like a whole convention to define the time. And when this was made, there were two ideas that were discussed. One is like okay, like the day of 24 hours that we have today with the different time zones. And another idea was that you will divide the day in 24 hours, and it was the same everywhere with no time zones. That was not past because like noon, everyone was used that noon was when the sun was like in the middle of the sky, and so they made it as similar as possible. And if we go much deeper than that, then we see that time is very different than what we usually mean by it. This is not anyway the subject of today, or also this to make like some to do like a physics lesson about time. This is not the idea of today. Not really about also physics, but anyway, if one wants to do it, it would also be beautiful to do. It doesn't have to be about physics, but you know, like it's to reflect on this opens the mind. Also, there is this book from Carlo Rovelli, which talks about the order of time, which deconstructs what we usually mean by it. Years ago, as I was in India and I was in one of the most intense periods of study, and as I was doing that, I took in my hands a book. So I was doing one thing and the other, and it was the book of Orwell, 1984. And I was not able to stop reading it. So in between one session of study and the other, one exam and the other, I was reading it. I read it in English. I was like 16 years old. And one of the things that impressed me of that book was the concept that past actually is created in the present. The past is what you believe that there has been. So, for example, there was like it was called like the Ministry of Lies in that book, and its function was to recreate the past every day. So, like for example,
e poi invece è salito. Il giorno che è salito si deve rifare tutti i giornali di ieri, l'altro.
So, for example, according to the price of chocolate, if whether the price of chocolate will go up or down, you will like manipulate the news in order to make it coherent with that. And then reflecting on it, okay, what is the past? Because we take it for granted, the concept that we learned when we were child of past, present, and future. But how often have we stopped to ask ourselves, but what is it? Because on one hand, reflecting on it, the past is made of the memories that happened. What is there today of what has been there? The memory. Then, okay, we were here yesterday with many of us. What did we live yesterday? What happened? Also, if we go in the specific, everyone will describe it in a different way. Everyone has different memories. So the past is one.
Il mio passato è uguale al tuo passato, è diverso.
The past is various. So my past, is it similar to your past or is it different? Actually, we can just reflect a little, or at least for me, and you can see that the past is not one. Just like the present is not one. Because this exact moment, every one of us is living what is living in a different way. And also from the point of view of physics, when we talk about past, present and future, or at least from what I understood, there is no such thing as the past or the present. This concept of present is an illusion because our planet is very small. Because if we will find ourselves in a much bigger planet, or if we try to communicate with someone that doesn't have to be so far away, but maybe on the moon or on the sun, okay, a bit further, you need 8 minutes to get there, like a message from here to the sun. So you send a message, you call, how are you? What are you doing? Then 8 minutes later, I am doing the laundry. And you, what are you doing? Then 8 minutes later. Then we wouldn't say like maybe deep things with all this delay.
La domanda cosa stai
The
facendo
question, what are you doing now, doesn't work anymore then.
Perché quello stesso adesso non
because the same now doesn't exist. We have this perception because our planet is extremely small. But anyway, let's leave it aside. From a philosophical point of view, if we reflect on it a bit, we see that the present is relative. Each one of us lives it in a different way. And inevitably, also the past. But the past, with that there is still another matter. Our past.
permanente o
Is it
impermanente?
permanent or impermanent?
Per dire, quello che è successo ieri,
For instance, what happened yesterday, can someone change it?
se ieri si è rotto un vaso, qualcuno può tornare.
If yesterday a vase broke in pieces, can someone go back there and fix it, make it so that it didn't break? What happened? Happened. What is the past is the past. But
Il passato non è così come
the past is not, just like the present, is not made just out of situations that are apparently objective, but is also made of emotions, judgments, perceptions, perspectives, is subjective.
l'esempio che ho fatto
The
tante
example that I made many times and that I like is that, okay, if we are walking on the street, let's imagine that we are in a big city, and then at a certain point someone comes and pushes us with a lot of strength, and we fall on the ground and we break an arm, like in a really bad way. Then we end up in the hospital and we have our arm hurting a lot. What feeling do we have towards who pushed us, which we didn't even see? Attraction, aversion, indifference?
Non dovevo aver paura di dirlo,
We
avversione,
shouldn't
no?
be afraid of saying it, aversion.
Tendenzialmente sarebbe
Yeah,
avversione,
I think this would be the tendency.
Mentre siamo lì,
And
quindi
as we are there, okay, it's something happened that was bad, someone hurt me. This is what I feel emotionally, and I react with aversion. Then it depends on each one. Maybe someone is cultivating anger, rancor, was like cultivating a vengeance, and okay, projecting on the future. Okay, I need to find what was that and this and that. And then there is actually who's generalizing and a category of the society. Everyone goes on his own path, but for the majority of us, there will be an object of aversion. So something bad happened to me. They hurt me, they did something that was not right. And so at a certain point we are there in the hospital and the police comes. Look, I wanted to show you what happened. We have the recordings of the local cameras that were on the streets, and you can see what happened there. And there one is already thinking, okay, now I can catch the person that did that. And actually in that scene, the recording, we see that there was like a work site close by, and something very heavy was falling from exactly on our heads. And the person that was walking in the opposite direction was seeing what was coming from the back, from our back, and in order to save us, pushed us. Then that huge thing fell exactly where we were just a moment ago. Then at that point, the police said, look, you were very lucky. If it wasn't for that person, probably you wouldn't be here anymore, or, you know, like, you were lucky just with a broken arm. Like once I saw like a piece of a crane breaking, and it just came to my mind. It felt like 30 centimeters from a person.
Bastava poco per non essere più lì per raccontare la storia. Quindi immaginiamo una scena del genere, no? A quel punto noi siamo lì.
And so at the point we are there, the arm still hurts, but someone risked himself to save my life, and actually did that. The past, did it stay the same? The feeling that I have towards what happened changed, even if the arm is still hurting. And I will have to face it. It's not that I didn't break the arm anymore because I saw it differently. But our reality is not made out just of physical aspects, but also very much out of the mental and emotional aspects. And so from something that was like something that hurt me, to someone did something good to me. So from distrust I go towards trust. It changes the reality, changes how I live it, and also how I project myself in the present and in the future. Our difficulty is that when we live something, we have a hard time, also in the present moment, to be aware that what I'm living is relative. It's not absolute, it's not objective.
Però noi vediamo la nostra versione.
But we live our version of the world of reality as if it was the reality. And so, in each moment that we live our tendency, it's as if like to take a picture somehow. And when we imagine a picture, the picture is a very good analogy because it stops a moment, it freezes a moment and shows different things. And it shows mostly the object that is captured and the subject also that is taking the picture. Because when we see a picture, actually, the picture is showing us the position in which a photographer was, the choices that he took. Okay, now with smartphones and everything, there's no such things anymore so much, but actually we choose maybe like the speed, so how much also light to get in, whether to put on a filter or not. You could understand whether the photographer was short or tall, or if he had like a stick to take like a picture from a high up. So the picture shows a lot also of who's taking the picture. And so when we take a picture of the present moment that we call present, we are not aware that that is a picture that we ourselves are taking. Let's say that we say that that is the reality. It's like, okay, I take a picture and I believe that what I see in the picture is what happened, what was there, isn't it? Actually, in general, when we see a picture, we see that what we pictured was the objective reality. Another person did a very different picture of the same moment. So what is the right reality? Both, actually. So we take a picture and we fix it, and then when we remember what happened, we relate to what happened like in an instant, from an instant later onwards. We relate to what happened or with the picture that we took. No, think about any moment of your life. Do we relate to what happened or to the picture that we took? According to you?
Con la foto.
With the picture.
La foto c'è una caratteristica interessante. La foto è permanente.
The photo is permanent. This is an interesting characteristic. It just stays there like that. The photo shows a specific position, so it shows a situation from a specific angle with a specific light in that moment. If today we would take again a picture of the same situation, the picture would be different because the photographer changed. So if we had like a time machine to go back in time and take again that picture, it would be different. A practical example of this is that when we see again like the same movie in different moments of life, to me it has happened to see a movie and to say how beautiful, and to laugh and to get emotional And when it ends, like, wow, what a beautiful movie. Then a few years later, I tell someone, look, that movie was so beautiful. And then I see it again, I was like, I don't know what I saw in this. But it's not that the director came and changed the scenes. The main character changed, which was me.
Perciò il passato
And so the past is impermanent because the past is made out of our memories. The past is made also out of the causes that we created and the seeds that we planted that we also carry with us today. Today we inevitably live the present through the filter of our past. We're not able to do otherwise.
Nessuno di noi.
No one of us has this capacity.
In questo senso abbiamo accumulato
In
esperienze,
this sense, we have accumulated experiences, emotions, sensations, physical states, material, economic, and so on. Every action, every choice that we took up to today, and that is there now with us, was in the past and conditions our present experience.
perciò
And so the definition of past that is given, one of the definitions, because then one of the subjects that I really like to study was the definitions of past, present and future according to the various philosophical schools in Buddhism. There are those that say that the past doesn't exist and that there is just the present, and also the future doesn't exist. There are those that say that the past exists and is impermanent, those that say that it is permanent, different views. And it's very beautiful to see them, to understand them, to them also put them together somehow. And the definition that I liked the most among all was that the past are the causes that have already had conditions and consequently results. The past, in other words, is that seed that has already sprouted.
Okay. Il presente
The present are the causes that are having conditions and consequently are having results. So we are experiencing the results specifically of what was created. So this is the present. The present is the union of causes that come from before the past and conditions which are the interactions that are happening in the present moment that sum together create the experience of what we live. This is the definition of the present. And the future are the causes that haven't had conditions yet, and so they haven't given results yet. In the practice, what does this mean? One, that the past exists because all the actions that I did until today and still haven't got results, I bring them with me.
Facendo un'analogia semplice, non mi piace molto, ma è una molto semplice.
With a simple analogy, how much money do I have in the bank or on the pockets or in the pockets?
Sono il risultato di che cosa?
That's the result of what? Of how much I earned and how much I spent. So that number that is there, each one can imagine his own.
È il risultato di
It's the
che cosa?
result of what?
Del nostro passato.
Of our past, of
Quello che abbiamo fatto,
what we did, didn't do, chose.
Similmente,
And similarly,
tutte le risorse che noi
all the
abbiamo
resources that we have in the present moment
sono il risultato
are
di tutte
the
le
result
scelte che
of all the
abbiamo
choices that
fatto,
we
i pensieri
took,
che abbiamo avuto,
the
le
thoughts that we
incontri
had,
che abbiamo avuto,
the
quello
meetings,
che c'è stato prima.
and everything that
Noi
was before.
portiamo tutto
And if we
quello
bring
che
all of that with us today,
trova nel presente.
it's in the present.
Perciò, quando io
And
guardo
so,
il conto, c'è
when I
quel
look in the
numero
bank account, there is that
lì.
number
Quel
there.
numero
That number,
cos'è?
what is
È
it?
nel presente.
It's in the
Ma
present.
quel numero
But that number brings with itself everything that had been done before. Are we there on this? The same thing is our physical state.
Mentale, emozionale.
Physical, emotional, and the present doesn't exist independently of the past, of course, but brings with itself everything that happened somehow. At the same time, the past is past.
Non si ripete.
You cannot repeat it. And so it's pointless to ruminate.
Dall'altra parte è molto utile rivedere il passato.
Ruminate the past. On the other hand, it's very useful to revisit the past. It seems like it's maybe two opposed things.
E poi è utile rivedere il passato.
So to say like, okay, it's pointless to ruminate, and then it's good to revisit. So in what terms? It's pointless to revisit, okay, in the sense of ruminating, like, okay, this could have been like this or like that, why was it like this? So in this case we are revisiting the past through a vision of a past that is objective. And usually when we do this, we also victimize ourselves. We are the victim either of the world or of ourselves, because why is it like this, or why is it like that, it shouldn't have been like that. When I say that it's useful to revisit the past, I mean that, okay, I took a picture. After a while that picture has passed, the person, the object that I captured has changed, also the photographer changed, but that picture remained the same.
Noi vediamo quella foto come
we see that picture as what happened. And when we are able to go back and to allow ourselves, one, to remember and to admit that what we remember is a snapshot, it's not what happened, it's a picture. And sometimes we can go back with our imagination and take another picture of what happened. To take another picture with who we are today. So for example, something that we lived as we were a child, when maybe we lived in a certain situation, or as teenagers, let's say as a child, we took a picture of that, and that picture stays with us. That thing happened. Today I have a different knowledge, I have a different maturity, a different experience. I go back with the mentality of today, and I try to take another picture of what happened. When I am able to do that, the past changes. It's a bit like in 1984, that in the newspapers and everywhere, like what happened was changing. And the interesting thing is that when we are able to do this thing of going back and taking another picture, all the consequences that come as a chain with that event change our way of living it, and also the present changes. So the past changed, and also the present. But because our past is made out of pictures, and we take these photographies as the reality, both in the present moment towards the past, and also the pictures that we imagine of the future, when we allow ourselves to imagine that the pictures are pictures, and we allow ourselves to take them again, remembering also that, okay, photographs are nothing else but photographs. We wouldn't be able to relate if not through these photographs. Anyway, so we allow ourselves to take them again. Because sometimes we get to the point that we are aware, yes, I have the trauma, that thing happened, and that other thing happened, I'm blocked by this thing. But what happened is not objective, it's not absolute. Comes to my mind like an extreme example. It is told about one of the past lives of Buddha, where he received some teachings and he was deeply grateful for having received those teachings, and then at a certain point he gets killed in an unjust way, which is also connected with the fact that he followed a vision
ingiusto dal re dell'epoca lì.
but anyway, he was killed by the king of the time. And as he was about to die, it was told in the story that he doesn't have any bad feelings towards who commanded to kill him, because, and also about who was going to kill him, because he had the full awareness that what he was living was the result of the actions that he himself had created. So if in the causes that I created in the past that are maturing, getting ripe in the present, that's what it is, and I shouldn't have anger or hatred towards who's killing me.
Però fatto sta che una persona che lo vive in questo modo,
So a person that is living it like this, how does he perceive what happened? I am elaborating something that I did in the past. There is no rancor, there is no hatred. Anyway, he was able to live that. It's not that it didn't hurt, but he was able to maintain his peace.
e alla fine dei conti,
And at the end, when we ask, okay, what photograph is more convenient?
quella con la quale
That with which we have a greater feeling of serenity and peace, balance, joy, less anger, hatred, and so on.
quindi
And so
ogni tanto
sometimes it's important for us to train ourselves in revisiting our past
e fare questi doppi
and
movimenti. Da un
to
lato il passato è passato.
take this double movement. Okay, on one hand, the past is past, so it's pointless to say, if I had or if I didn't have, that is pointless.
L'esercizio di ritornare
And then there is also that exercise of
alla mente di dove si trova il corpo.
bringing the mind to the present moment,
Perché
where the body is today, now, here.
come
Because
sarebbe
also if we imagine how
la nostra mente se non avessimo un corpo?
would our mind be if we didn't have a body?
Pensate per un attimo.
Just try to think
non
about
ci
it a
fosse
little
il
bit.
corpo,
If the body,
passato,
if you didn't have
presente,
body,
futuro, che differenza
past,
ci
present, and future, what difference would there be?
Dove siamo?
Where are we?
Cosa ci porta nel presente
What is bringing us in the present
se non ci fosse il corpo?
if there was no body?
È difficile, eh?
It's difficult, eh?
Quindi quello che ci porta nel
And
ora
so what brings us
stesso,
to the here
questo ci
and
apre
now
anche
is the
una
body itself, and this opens up a whole different reflection. Okay, so like how are the past, present, and future lived for someone that doesn't have a physical body? This is a whole different subject.
Però quello che accade è noi siamo ora qui, quindi
But what happens is that we are here
sul corpo,
now, so we bring the attention to the present, to the body, we feel the present moment, and we allow ourselves to live the beautiful things of the present moment. We didn't even realize, but yesterday it was like the longest day of the year.
non so quanti di
I
voi
don't
hanno
know,
visto
many of you
l'alba,
have seen like the dawn and the sunset.
no? È una cosa che, sai, noi non guardiamo. Io l'altro giorno era di notte,
Yesterday it was night and I was in the woods here, and it was an incredible
stare lì a guardarli per
show of lights, and to just look at that for a while was beautiful. Sometimes, as today, we don't allow ourselves anymore to live the small things of the present moment.
il piacere del
The
bere
pleasure
l'acqua,
in drinking water,
la bellezza di
the beauty of
respirare
breathing,
consapevolmente, la meraviglia di uno sguardo con un'altra
the wonder to look at each other in the eyes with love. These are things that are here with us today, but it's up to us to see them and to give them importance. So on one hand, it's fundamental to be present in the present moment, to bring our attention here, to not ruminate on the past, why did it happen like that, it shouldn't have happened like that, and on the other hand also to not project the future with so many paranoia and projections. On the other hand is pointless to suffer the past again and to pre-suffer the future. So let's try to be here, and at the same time, in a way that is aware, to allow ourselves to analyze and observe our past with the awareness that the past is past but is impermanent and conditions the present, and to allow ourselves to take another photograph, to revisit what lived with different eyes, is extremely useful. Just like the future, with the future is pointless to pre-suffer the future, but it's very important to project ourselves in the future with an idealized image of what we would like to do, who we would like to be, where we would like to go, because that is it's because of that vision of the future that we can give ourselves a direction and not remain simply like in a state of constant reactions. So on one hand, the past is something that is extremely important, because those are the resources that we have here today. And when we revisit our past, we also change our way of living what happened, because when I change my way of seeing what happened, also that changes, because things happen through us. So when I change my past, as a consequence, my present changes, and also my vision of the future changes. And that is something that we do also in a way that is unaware, because when we live something, between what we lived, what we told someone else, and what a few years later told again, that summed up with someone else that shared, and that what we imagined, that maybe we also lied a little bit in between to create a little bit more of drama or colors. We added a little bit here and there because to show that we were more good, or to hide a little part of ourselves. I think it has already happened to everyone, like to tell a story and to add to do a little bit of lifting and makeup here and there. But as time changes, one forgets that he did that photoshopped the picture, and you lost the original version, and you take that as the reality. It comes to my mind a friend that took a picture of her passport and put a filter. Everyone can do. What happens is that even what we tell is not what happened, and it's also not the original picture that we took very often. Because me today, I have the memory of the picture. It's also not the picture that I took in that moment. So we see even more how this past, how can I say, is false. Not that it doesn't exist, but it's false, since when I see it as an objective reality, and it's nothing else but a memory of a picture, and like a picture that has been actually transformed in 1,000 ways up to now. For example, I have memories of my childhood, and there are some parts of these memories that, according to me, and very sincerely, I'm not sure, I cannot distinguish today what is my memory today, what I told to myself, and what is the sum of the stories that my parents told me. And I created my own story, my picture of that moment, like a sort of movie of what happened. But what actually happened, I don't know. I have an idea. But when we say, this happened, we are really sure of it. You did this to me, you said, this happened, that happened. We are so sure, even if that was like the most solid, certain thing of the word. Then when we check,
non è proprio così.
It's not really like that.
Quindi il semplice fatto, che non è poi così semplice, però di poter ammettere a noi
So the fact of admitting to ourselves that we relate through to what happened through some pictures that were modified in time,
quindi ci possiamo fidare fino a un certo
so
punto.
we can rely on that until a certain point, and we have the power of changing it. This is the most important part.
Allo stesso tempo,
At the
quando
same time, when I project myself in the tomorrow,
è giusto proiettarsi, avere un'idea.
it's right to project myself and to have an idea, but with awareness that that is nothing else but a projection of my own, and that it shouldn't be like that. But how many times one is disappointed because things haven't gone as one expected? And when I see this in myself, in others, I say how arrogant we are to believe that we have the pretense of knowing how things should go when we see just a little part of a complex equation. And so, yes, it's right to project, to program, to direct, but with the awareness that we don't have the control of things. Partly, it could go in a similar way as I projected it, but mostly not, and that's fine.
Quando non va bene,
Also when it's not fine, because anyway, that's what it is.
è quello che io devo.
And what I should do is to see how can I interact in a different way today.
Perciò noi viviamo
And so we live a very important part, very big part of our lives in the past and in the future. If you are able a little bit to add to this that the past is subjective, the past is impermanent, the future is a projection.
E se lo facciamo nella
And if we do it with the awareness of that, that already removes a lot of weight.
anche il momento presente
Even the present moment
non è quello che ci sembra.
is not what it seems on many levels. Now I don't want to go on complex philosophies.
Addirittura le nostre
Even
emozioni,
our own emotions
che sarebbero fra le cose più
that
intime,
are among the most intimate things that we have.
noi molto
We very often
facciamo fatica a avere
have a hard time to have clarity with ourselves on what we are feeling.
Noi diamo un'etichetta
We put a label to our emotion
sulla base del contesto in cui
based on the context on which we find ourselves,
la cultura che
the
viviamo.
culture that we live.
Ci sono anche studi molto
There are also very interesting studies on this. Comes to mind one specifically,
dove prendevano un
where they took a group of people and they divided it in a random way,
un'esperienza in cui a tutti
and
loro
then they did an
davano
experience, each one of them, where
un'iniezione che
they
dicevano che era
were injected something, and it was told to them that it was like some vitamin, something that didn't have a particular effect, when actually it was some adrenaline, if I remember right. But anyway, something that was making the person agitated. So they injected this little dose of adrenaline, and then they would put the person in situations of many kinds. In some cases, it was like in a room with someone that was very joyous, very euphoric and joyous. In other cases, they put the person in a context where it was with someone that was very angry, aggressive, and so on. And some people knew what they put in the injection, and other people didn't. What they realized was that when they got out of the situation, those that didn't know what the substance was were feeling agitated,
uscivano
and they got out of it and they felt euphoric, because that agitation, they saw it as a sort of joy, because okay, that person is joyous, euphoric, I'm also like that. Others felt like angry because see what happened. But those that knew that they had an injection of adrenaline, in the same situations, they said, no, what I'm feeling is the effect of the injection, which is that inner feeling of energy that someone is just not relaxed and calm in that moment. But what is happening? What am I feeling? In the majority of cases, we judge on the basis of the context.
A me mi è capitato
It has happened to me to feel some emotions and to not exactly be sure to what attribute them. And one of the things that I allow myself to do many times is to say, okay, I don't feel very well, I don't have a particularly good feeling, I don't know what is it about, because like what I see around me it seems like a shortcut if I could attribute this feeling to those things, so I just wait and it will pass.
fra un po' passa purtroppo, fra un po' passa meno male, dipende.
It will pass.
Quando noi cominciamo
And
a proiettarli su una
when we start to project on something, and then we start to create some vicious cycles with that.
Perciò anche addirittura il
So even the present moment, the most intimate part of our emotions, is not objective. Depends on the context in which we are, the value that we attribute, the way that we live it. And according to me, very often we are not so good to put a label and a name to what we're feeling.
Ci sono diversi studi su questo.
There are various studies on this, also
Perciò, ma non servono gli
somehow funny, but we actually don't need studies, we can just look at ourselves in many cases.
La conclusione è
So the conclusion is,
non prendiamo per scontato
let's not take for granted the concepts that we have,
permettiamoci un attimino
and let's allow ourselves to play this game of revisiting what are the things that seem granted in the past, present, future, time, space, the mind, body, just to name a few.
lo stesso
The same thing, also the family, the wife, the husband, the neighbor, I don't know. These are all concepts.
e noi portiamo
And
insieme
we
quei concetti
bring together with those concepts
quella è una realtà oggettiva, ma sono concetti che noi portiamo
something that is like an objective reality, but then
ogni tanto permetterci un po' di
sometimes so to allow ourselves to see that concepts are just concepts.
che noi ci relazioniamo
We relate
tramite questi
to the
concetti.
world through this concept that we received.
Però è importante per noi vedere che i concetti sono concetti e permetterci di
So it's really
rivedere
important for us to see that the concepts are concepts and revisit them once in a while, and that changes our life. And among these concepts, there are also the past, present, and future.
questo è tutto.
So
E per
this
poter fare
is-
questo bene dobbiamo
And
permettere
in order to do this well, we need to allow ourselves to be present in the present, because to go through this process of analysis and to observe, we need to have the mind where we want it to be.
apriamo già un altro argomento.
And here we open
Comunque.
a whole different subject. But anyway, this is what I wanted to share today,
Vi ringrazio tutti.
and I thank you.
Ricordare che questo
Thank every one of you, and I would like to remember you that these days, especially for those that are here in Albagnano, there will be this practice of the young group, but also for who's at home, and it's practice that is done once a year with the goal to cultivate, to nourish this energy, this that is called yang in Tibetan, that is something very important. Then there is no translation for it, but it's like as if it was the energy that sustains not only the material aspect, but everything that is about health, our luck, in the sense that things go well in our life, what also sustains the part of harmony, among which there is also the material part. But it's not the only aspect, there are many aspects that are together with it. there is also the aspect that this energy has a reference to nature and to how harmonious is and how plants and crops can grow. And there is this technique that in Tibet was developed, I don't know when or where, but it's very ancient to do this practice of meditation to renew this energy. And so we will do this in the next days, so it's for 3 days. Everyone is welcome to participate. And then from these days onwards, then we will have a whole period. We will do the Sand Mandala of Yamantaka, which is also a beautiful moment to be together. Then there will be the Ramne Chenmo, this practice of blessings that we do once a year. That is to renew, so to speak, the energy to give blessings to the sacred objects. So we have the images, the texts, the statues, the houses, and so on. So it's really to give some particular blessing. We do it once a year, but actually, that I know in the West, we are the only ones that do this practice, which is complicated, long, and we need at least 3 days. Usually, some monasteries in India and Tibet do it every year. In monasteries and temples in the West, I don't know actually any other. I know some that did it only once, but this was something where Lama Ganchen put a lot of energy in. Not to say that we are better than the others, but that it is something special that happens. It's not something that happens every day. And the text that is followed was made by Lama Tsongkhapa, so it's something very beautiful. So this, and then we will see each other again in the spirit. We will have the whole summer together.
Jetsun lame kutse rapten chi namkar tinle chokchur gepa dang losan tempe dreme sasumgi drove munsel tato ne gyur chi nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delek shin ninsen takto delek pe Concho sumke chinge lobo, concho sumke ngodrubutsol, concho sumke trashishon.
At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the 3 jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and to sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.
Buona giornata a tutti.